Hello and welcome to YTV. Stephen A. Schwarzman is the chairman, CEO, and co-founder of Blackstone. A member of the Yale class of 1969, Mr. Schwarzman has just donated $150 million to Yale for the creation of a campus center dedicated to performing arts and student life. Mr. Schwarzman's gift will be used to renovate Commons and Memorial Hall. The new space will feature the grand main hall, lounge areas, gallery spaces, performance spaces, and student meeting rooms, and it will incorporate state-of-the-art technology to allow Yale students and faculty to interact virtually with people around the world. The Schwarzman Center is scheduled to open in 2020. Today, Mr. Schwarzman joins us at the Blackstone headquarters in New York. Mr. Schwarzman, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Well, it's my pleasure.
So, Mr. Schwarzman, you graduated from Yale back in 1969. And now, 46 years later, you clearly continue to feel a very deep connection to the school. You've just donated the second largest gift in Yale's history. What is it about your experience at Yale that made you want to give back so generously?
Well, you know, I got there in 1965, and I was from a public high school outside of Philadelphia, and when I got to Yale, I knew no one. And so it was a pretty isolating feeling, and I managed to get through that. I had a lot of help from my freshman English teacher. I got a 68 on my first paper, Bartleby the Scrivener by Melville, and I got a 66 on my second one, and this assistant professor called me in for a meeting. And I said, I assume I'm here to talk about my English papers. And he said, yes. I said, well, that's not a surprise. He said, well, why is that? I said, well, I had nothing to say, and I said it poorly. And he said, my God, you're not stupid after all. He said, you just don't know how to write. He said, but first, I'll teach you how to think. And he gave me the answer for the next 2 or 3 papers, and then he taught me after that how to write. And I ended up on Dean's List at the end of the first year. And so I had a variety of experiences at Yale that basically changed my life. I met fantastic people who were from a world different than mine, who showed me sort of what a responsible life was, what good values would be, whether it's giving back or public service and other types of things. And I'm a really happy person now. And part of that was because of the transition that I made at Yale and was given the opportunity to do. And so I feel that Yale was really a turning point in my life. And I'm glad to support the university.
And so instead of making academics the focus of your gift, you've chosen to make the focus of your gift enhancing the cultural and the student life at Yale. Why did you decide to make this your focus?
I had a particular interest in the Commons building because that's where freshman year I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And there were long walks from Old Campus. It was really cold, and it was, as I remember, pretty damp, and it was pretty lonely. For me, to be able to do something that impacts the whole campus, impacts people's lives, helps integrate the university experience, and gives everybody a place to go where they feel that's their place, where there's something interesting, where they can meet people or see people or do things or learn things, that I think that's a very useful and important thing to do, particularly that Yale is somewhat like Oxford and Cambridge, which operate through a college system, doesn't really have a central location. And I missed that when I was at college, and I think that facilitating that will help enrich the experience for the students there at all levels. And the college system is great. I really like the college system. It's quite unique in America. And this is not trying to take away from that, it's trying to supplement it.
While you were still an undergraduate at Yale, you displayed an interest in fostering the arts at Yale. So for example, when you were a senior, you organized a dance performance at the college. When did you initially develop this passion for the performing arts?
Well, it's interesting. When I was younger, my parents used to take me to the concerts in Philadelphia, and we were sitting up in nosebleed territory. We were up so high, I think it was the fourth tier, I kept wondering if I'd stand up. If by accident I tripped, I'd go all the way over the front. So I had some basis of that, but what really changed it was in my sophomore year, between freshman and sophomore year, I was playing touch football in the courtyard right before the summer, at the end of term, and I slipped and fell down and separated my shoulder, so I couldn't do much that summer, and so I sat at home in a sling, and I decided I was going to learn classical music. So I started listening to Gregorian chants, and I bought every major conductor's work, and I sat somewhere between 7 to 10 hours a day in a room, and I just listened to the music. And when I got up to Tchaikovsky, I was sitting there and my eyes were closed and you could see dancers. And I had never been to ballet, but you could just see it. And when I got back to school in the fall, the master's wife at Davenport, the master was somebody named Horace Taft, who I guess was the great-grandson of the president. He was a physicist, a lovely man. And his wife, Mary Jane, knew a lot about ballet, so I mentioned it. And then she started giving me books, and that started me on my way. So as a grown-up, shows you how these interests carry on. I became chairman of the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, and that was during the presidential term of George Bush, who happened to be in Davenport when I was, and he was a year ahead of me. So these little worlds have a habit of lingering on, developing, and you end up, sort of as a older graduate. I don't think I'm older, but apparently I am. Doing a gift to Yale to facilitate something in the same general area, although there'll continue to be, food service of different types and performing arts things, and hopefully some fun on weekends with dances and things of that type, with great technology, so we'll be able to project things all over. This will be a really happening place, which I hope will be great for Yale and its students and its faculty.
So in addition to the physical changes that the Schwarzman Center will bring to Yale, the center also promises to create a more meaningful relationship between undergraduates and graduate students at Yale. So you have been both an undergraduate at Yale as well as a member of the faculty of the Yale School of Management. So to what extent did your personal experiences influence your decision to foster a greater relationship between the undergraduates and graduate students at Yale?
Well, I thought that would be very interesting because as I got older, a lot of my friends went to Yale Law School, for example, and they were in Hillary Clinton's class. And so that whole generation of leaders in the country basically incubated, whether it was Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton, all my friends were there. And so there's something to be learned, I've found, in life by meeting different people who are doing slightly different things, and that you can always learn from people. Younger people learn from older people. We do that here at Blackstone. That's normal. And being walled off in silos isn't quite as interesting at the end of the day. as being able to have a much broader ability to interact with different groups of people. And so that's why I think part of the interesting elements of the Schwarzman Center will be to have people have accidental interactions with people. Some will be purposeful.
And you've expressed hope that the Schwarzman Center will not only serve as a crossroads for the Yale campus, but it will also serve as a crossroads for the world. So how do you envision the Schwarzman Center becoming an international hub?
Well, the world we live in now is really global. And it's global because of the internet and social media and things of that type. I'm doing a program in China called the Schwarzman Scholars, where it'll be like the Rhodes Scholars, and except we'll be taking 200 people a year to China at Tsinghua University, and we're building a college there that'll look like a Yale College, except it'll really look a bit, Chinese. And I think that there are all kinds of ways that you need to connect globally, and we're doing that at Schwarzman College in China because we have to, and for Yale to be able to put on different types of performances and seminars and famous people and connect where they are, have them beam in, interact with them. It could be really fascinating and offer something that doesn't get offered on a regular basis.
And what sort of advice do you have for Yale students?
Well, first, be grateful you were admitted. That's where you start. Looking back, I don't think anyone takes full advantage of the full academic experience, because kids who are 18 to 22, they've got a lot of agendas. So what I would say is that you should sample, take advantage, pursue interesting things that aren't exactly down the center of the fairway. I took a 19th century philosophy course, Hegel and Kant, and it was very interesting. And in effect, from a career point of view, I'm not sure that did me any good, except exercise my mind. But it was part of intellectual history and learning things that aren't strictly pre-professional is a good thing. As a professional, after you master the basic elements of your job, your success is determined by your ability to see changes, see new paradigms, invent new things, be able to relate to people and convince them to do things. Those are skills that are not limited to a killer pre-professional approach to life. But the game starts to be played after you have those foundational skills, which are not that challenging. You think they are when you're young, but if you're smart, you can learn to do those pretty easily. And if you join a good organization of some type, they'll make sure you learn that.
Mr. Schwarzman, thank you so much for speaking with us today, and thank you as well for your generous donation to Yale.
It's my pleasure.